closer to this year. Last week, the Bucs put a scare into the only other unbeaten team in the NFL, the Chicago Bears, before they finally lost. Now, on the other side of the field...
About the 30-yard line. And he'll get a chance to return this one also. Ellert at the 35. Ellert to the 47-yard line. That's
half the distance to the goal line. First down.
That penalty against Mel Owens, and now a defensive unit that has performed so magnificently in the first 5 games is starting to make some very critical errors here in the opening period.
And how about last week, Jim? They saved the game for the Rams when they stopped Darren Nelson on the goal line. Time running out. They won at 13-10.
With the penalty, it is still first and goal. Ball at the 1-yard line. Adger Armstrong and James Wilder in the backfield. The handoff goes to Wilder. He scores.
Ooh, the Rams are hot. Look at Gary Green and Cromwell. They're saying he coughed up the ball.
But it doesn't matter. See, I think what they forget is that when Wilder dove over, the ball was already across the plane of the goal line, and as soon as that happens, it's 6.
We have the shot. Let's take a look at it. Wilder over the top, the Iron Man. There is the ball. It looked like he was broke the plane of the goal line before it popped out. You're right, Jim.
And Igwebuike is in to attempt the extra point conversion. And it is good. So with 5 minutes and 12 seconds left to go in the first period, the Buccaneers have a touchdown lead over the Rams. John, last week, Jim Collins made a tackle on Darren Nelson to preserve the Ram victory. This time he misses.
He misses. Watch number 50 here. Wilder cuts back, he misses, but Reggie Doss comes across, puts his helmet in the ball, and Wilder coughs it up. But if the ball broke the plane of the goal line, it's a touchdown. I believe that was the case.
And the key there is as soon as the ball breaks the plane of the goal line.
It's over. Play's dead. It's a touchdown.
8 plays, 67 yards, 3 minutes. Wilder diving over from 1 yard out. Igwebuike all set to kick off for the Buccaneers. Charles White and Lynn Kane. Mr. Scribbler picked up by one of the offensive linemen. And that's where the Rams will take over 1st and 10. Tony Slayton. Coming up next here on CBS, it's the Chicago Bears against the San Francisco 49ers, or the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Seattle Seahawks. But you folks out on the West Coast in Los Angeles will not be able to see these games because of NFL rules. The Raiders are in Los Angeles this Sunday taking on the New Orleans Saints.
And I would say Chicago has to be a little bit revenge-minded after losing that NFC Championship game 23-0. But remember, McMahon will play in this one. Steve Fuller was the quarterback then.
Brock back on 1st and 10. The pass is thrown to Henry Ellert. The officials are ruling that it is a reception.
It was very close. That second foot, did he dot the I? Did he get it in? That's the question.
Henry Ellert leads the Rams with 16 receptions this year and 1 touchdown.
Take a look at it. Ellert along the sidelines has that presence of mind as a receiver. He knows exactly where it is. He gets one. Very, very questionable.
But it is enough yardage for the first down. Lynn Kane in the backfield with Dickerson. It's David Hill in motion. Handoff to Kane, the first man. Kane picks up a yard before it's tackled by Keith Browner.
Jim, you know the Rams are 5-0 because of their defense. Their defense has played consistently all season long. John Robinson, when we talked to him, was a little bit worried about his offense. Especially, he said, hey, we're just not blocking. Yes, there are problems in the offensive line with Herc being out and with Bill Bain not playing this afternoon. But still, his offense has to pick up to that second dimension to throwing the ball, or else they could be in trouble.
The key loss has been Dennis Carroll, number 60. 4:24 left to go. Brock the pass. Tries to throw the ball away, and it is almost intercepted. However, referee Ben Dreif ruled that he was caught in the grass by Ron Holmes.
You know, Dieter Brock is not a great scrambler, but John Robinson says, you know, he stays alive in the pocket. He's able to move around the distance necessary to buy time. This time, it almost backfires on him. Watch it. Good coverage downfield. Can't find it. Breaks away from one man, and here he's in the grass and the control, and that was the call, but he almost throws it away. And 78, John Cannon, almost comes up with an interception.
So it's 3rd and 17, the second quarterback sack of the afternoon for the Buccaneers. And look at them, John. They have everyone up on the line of scrimmage, challenging the Rams to pass.
And you see him audibling at the line of scrimmage. He sings it.
And he goes back to pass. Throwing deep, intended for Ellard. And it is long and incomplete. That's one of the things that the Rams have worked on all week long. They expect to see an 8, 9, maybe 10-man defensive front. They got it. They've been trying to pass, unsuccessful there.
And you can sense the momentum building here in Tampa. It is Orange Day. We mentioned it. First time the Bucs are wearing orange. Their fans are out in orange force.
Dale Hatcher, who usually gets good, high, long punts in for the Rams. And Leon Bright back to receive for Tampa. Another high punt. Bright at the 8-yard line, and he's hit immediately there by Jerry Gray. That's where the Buccaneers will take over 1st and 10, and they have the lead. 7-0 lead over the Rams. Have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 9-yard line. James Wilder diving over from 1 yard out. As the Ram defensive unit starting to struggle, their offensive unit struggling even more. DeBerg to pass on 1st down. Throws long. Intended for Gerald Carter. Leroy Irving in on the play for the Rams.
You know, this is like a fastball up under the chin in baseball. You throw it long, it loosens up the defense, and he almost catches this. See him out in front. Irvin is trailing behind him. And watch Carter. He reaches out, almost pulls this ball in. But throwing on 1st down makes an awful lot of sense because the Rams are looking for the run with Wilder, and they're not getting it because the Bucs are mixing it up.
And Kevin House told us yesterday, along with DeBerg, that he feels that they can throw deep on this club.
Look at this right here. See him go up for the ball. Carter does. Irvin's got his arm in there, which a defensive back should have, and that distracted Carter.
Here's the handoff to Wilder. Wilder to the 11-yard line. Doug Reed in on the tackle for the Rams. 7-0 is the score here. Look at this, John. Detroit and Washington tied at 3. 3-0 Houston over Cleveland. Philadelphia over St. Louis by a field goal. John, your Giants are down by 2 touchdowns.
Oh, my good. Cincinnati lost to the Jets last week, and you know they're taking it out on the other New York team. 2
touchdown passes this afternoon by Boomer Esiason, who wasn't supposed to play today.
Oh, Boomer from Maryland.
2:54 left to go in the 1st period. 6 defensive backs in for the Rams. DeBerg hits as he throws the ball, and it is incomplete, intended for Kevin House. Eric Harris in on the play, defending for Los Angeles.
One of the things the Ram defense does not have, Jim, if you were going to characterize it, you would say they are not a dominating defense with a great pass rush. They rely on an outstanding all-star secondary, reasonable linebacking, but they're not getting the rush they would like.
John Robinson told us yesterday, we play on defense like a bunch of Pete Roses, remember?
Yes.
Just all-out hustle all over the place.
And that's the way they do. They switch their defensive linemen. They get a lot of people in specialized situations.
4th and 7. Frank Garcia to punt now for Tampa. This is Henry Ellard at the 44. Ellard goes out of bounds at the 40-yard line of Tampa Bay. There are flags on the play. Knocked out of bounds there by Cecil Johnson. Referee Ben Greif indicating the penalty is against the Buccaneers for holding.
Offense, holding, number 51. Decline a penalty. 1st down, going the other way.
The penalty was against Chris Washington. But the Rams will take over as they have excellent field position. Hey, John, look here. Next Saturday, a doubleheader in college football. First, the Purdue Boilermakers going against the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yes, and then how about this one? The second one is the one that I'm really hot on. Number 3, Michigan against number 1, Iowa. Both won yesterday.
Top spot in the country at stake there. Lynn Kane in the backfield now with Eric Dickerson. A toss back to Dickerson. Good block by Kane. Dickerson is free. Dickerson gets down to the 28-yard line of Tampa Bay. Good blocked in by Lynn Kane.
And Lynn Kane was the man that made it happen. All you have to do if you have a smooth, great back, like Dickerson in the backfield, is come up with the occupy block. Good block by David Hill. Look at that right there. And then the Dick just bursts through the hole. See the Bucs missing him? That's because Dickerson has that extra gear to make people miss. And he's so smooth.
Pickup of 13 yards on the play. He was telling us yesterday that throughout the first 4 or 5 games, he's been just 1 or 2 blocks away from making a long play. 1st and 10, ball at the 28. Dickerson again. Good block by Hill again. Dickerson getting to the 24-yard line before it's tackled by Ivory Sully.
Who is this guy, David Hill, that I always see Dickerson hanging around with? I mean, I saw in the lobby, I saw Dickerson. Who was standing next to him? David Hill. I saw them walking across the parking lot coming from lunch. Who was walking with him? His bodyguard, David Hill.
That's exactly who he is.
Who is this guy, David Hill? Is he the younger brother of Jim Hill?
That's exactly who he is.
Broadcaster extraordinaire from L.A. and CBS Sports. And my partner.
Oh, yeah. Here's Dickerson again. Dickerson, tackled by Ivory Sully. And we're starting to see now, John, the Rams have gotten the ball in good field position, and their offensive line, as David said, they've been embarrassed in the last couple of weeks. They're starting to open up holes a little bit.
They've worked on it all week long. Take a look at it from ground level. Dick with that quick cut up the middle. And, you know, I sensed as we talked to the offensive line that they were very, very quiet this week.
Dickerson already has 29 yards rushing and 5 carries. Ball at the 15-yard line of the Buccaneers. With Dickerson again. Gets by Brantley, but Brantley reaches out and brings him down from behind.
You know that you spent some time in the meetings this week, which is unheard of, with the Rams. And what was the feeling on offense?
It was really unusual. I sat in on the, first of all, with the offensive line this week, and they were very quiet. They were very reserved. They were, quite frankly, really concerned. Not really overly concerned, but a little concerned about what has been going on. They were like a group of students who are going for their master's degree. They have a bachelor's degree. They want their master's degree right now. And Dieter Brock will not get off the play. That is the end of the first period. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Rams, 7-0. For the first time in, John, 15 years, a very strange feeling for Herbert Jackson Youngblood III.
Oh, so good for so long. Pro Bowl 7 times. Oh, he was a great one.
And a back injury forced his retirement. But he's still very loyal to the Rams as he watches his former teammates try to get in and tie the score. 2nd and 9, ball at the 14-yard line of the Buccaneers. Dieter Brock to pass. And he's thrown for the 3rd loss this afternoon. Tackle there made by Ron Holmes. The 3rd sack of the afternoon for the Buccaneers.
And Ron Holmes is the rookie from Washington who's been getting his lumps all season long. Here, he makes a good move on Kent Hill, breaks through, powers his way through to get to Brock. And that, my friends, is a rookie against a 7-year veteran considered to be one of the best offensive linemen in the game, Ron Holmes.
Well, Holmes beat a double team then, not only Kent Hill, but Doug Smith.
Ooh, 2 sacks this afternoon. You know, coming into this game, he had a goose egg for sacks.
Not anymore. 3rd and 18 for the Rams. Barry Redden now in the backfield for Dickerson. Brock stumbles back. Going deep. Touchdown, Los Angeles, Bobby Duckworth.
The defensive back fell down. Take a look. Paul Dombrowski, number 47, is trying to cover Duckworth. First of all, it's a mismatch in terms of speed and talent. See right there, Duckworth catches the ball because Dombrowski fell down behind him. That's not to say he wouldn't have caught it anyhow, because the ball was beautifully thrown by Brock.
What a great acquisition for the Rams, getting Duckworth from San Diego.
Oh, you're not kidding. He is their best deep threat. But take a look. See the defensive back on the ground, rolling around. Touchdown. The Rams are back.
23 yards as Mike Lansford is in to attempt the extra point conversion. And it is good. 14:23 left to go in the first half. Tie ball game. So the Rams go 41 yards, take 6 plays, use 3 minutes and 6 seconds on the clock, capped off by Dieter Brock, going to Bobby Duckworth for 23 yards. Score is tied at 7. Mike Lansford in to kick off for the Rams. This is Phil Freeman at the 7-yard line. Freeman jiggle-bugging his way around. Still on the go. Freeman to the 31-yard line. That's where the Buccaneers will take over 1st and 10. Tackle made by Charles White.
If you want to know who Phil Freeman is, he's a rookie out of Arizona with great movement, one of the top return men in the NFL. Take a look at this quickness. Bing, he goes one way. No hold there. Let me go back the other way. Look at this, and he almost breaks it. Nolan Cromwell playing off a block well, slows him up, and then the tackle is made right there by number 33, Charles White.
John, October 26th, Patrick Ewing's debut in the NBA, the 76ers and the New York Knicks.
Oh, Ewing having his problems, fouled out. Not a happy man in the NBA yet.
He finds out he can intimidate a lot of people now. The big boys fight back. Here's DeBerg. Screen pass. This is James Wilder. Get away from Charles Dejournay, but then comes in Greg Meisner, who hangs on to make the tackle.
And you're right, Greg Meisner did hang on to make the tackle, or else Wilder might have had some yards. Wilder's big and strong. I mean, remember talking to Wilder yesterday when he was going to have his picture taken by Sports Illustrated? And Wilder, look at him. He's out rushing 6 teams, total teams in the NFL. Of course, Wilder is the runner for the Tampa Bay. He is the rushing offense. But look at that, 536 yards.
He can do it all. He scored the only touchdown for the Buccaneers this afternoon. Or did. It made it 7-0. Now it's 7-7. This Wilder again, going up the middle. Tackle made by Doug Reed, number 93.
But remember talking to Wilder yesterday when he was going to have his picture taken by Sports Illustrated, and they were taking him out to a junk yard or a scrap heap. He said, you know, I don't really understand why they're doing this. And then we said, well, maybe it's because you're the Iron Man. And he just laughed.
That's right. They do have a couple of nicknames for him. Cecil Johnson gives everyone nicknames for the Buccaneers.
That's right.
He calls Wilder the Iron Man. He also calls him Jim Brown.
Jim Brown.
Yeah.
That's right, because he reminds him of Jim Brown, and wears the same number.
That's right. He walks in the huddle and just says, give me the ball. 3rd and 11. Here's DeBerg back to pass. The blitz is on for the Rams. DeBerg over the middle, and it's intercepted by Los Angeles. Nolan Cromwell. Ball was intended for Jimmy Giles.
Simply great man-to-man coverage by Nolan Cromwell. He backs up, he keeps his cushion. He's also reading the quarterback. Jimmy Giles is just trying to drive him off. Take a look at Nolan. Watch his position. See, he sees Giles pulled up, and then it's ball reaction, and terrific hands as Giles tries to play defender and knock the ball away. Good coverage by Cromwell.
Cromwell's first interception of the year, and once again the Rams defense comes through.
They have come through all year long. Take a look at it. See him react, see him settle, and then bingo, he comes to the ball and takes it away from Giles.
Ball at the 33-yard line of Tampa Bay. 1st and 10 for the Rams. Dickerson back in the game now for Los Angeles. Fake. Screen pass to Henry Ellard. Ellard tackled by Chris Washington as he gets down to the 26-yard line of Tampa. Henry Ellard, who is the leading pass receiver for Los Angeles, and really their other medium to deep threat.
Oh, he's a good one. They have a nice balance on offense. Balance. I mean, they have Ellard, and they have Bobby Duckworth, and they have Ron Brown. When he's back healthy, what a deep threat he is.
Lynn Kane now joining Dickerson in the backfield. Toss back to Dickerson. Eric gets to the 25-yard line. Scott Brantley in on the tackle for the Bucs.
Now, we talked about the weather here today. It's close to 100 degrees, probably down on the field, and maybe even more than that. And on paper, Jim, you know, this big, tough, talented, experienced 5-0 Ram team should wear down and handle a smaller, younger, inexperienced 0-5 Bucs. And we'll have to keep an eye on that as the game goes along.
But conversely, remember some of the Buccaneers were telling us, hey, maybe this hot weather, the humidity here, will wear down the Rams because they are so big.
But Bill Bain has taken the afternoon off, and he would be the one to wear it down.
Barry Redden joins Dickerson in the backfield. Toss back to Dickerson. Cuts back to the near sidelines. Goes back up the middle. Down at the 22-yard line. He's tackled there by Jeremiah Castillo, John Holt, and Scott Brantley again.
Vintage Eric Dickerson. The play is designed to go outside. All the blocking is there, but what does Dick do? He sees there's no room. The cutback man, one of the best ever to do this in the game, makes the first down on his own.
And that's one of the things, Dickerson now 8 carries for 34 yards. That's one of the things that the Buccaneers are really concerned about in watching Dickerson is not to over-pursue because he can cut back and be gone in a hurry.
Good point, Jim.
First and 10 at the 22-yard line of Tampa. Here's the reverse. It's to Henry Ellert. He has blockers in front. Ellert at the 10. Down at the 5-yard line. Tackle there made by Scott Brantley. So they toss to Dickerson, who handed off on the reverse to Henry Ellert.
You know, is John Robinson putting a little more flavor in his vanilla offense? Here you go. Hands off to Dickerson. Everyone has to respect him. Ellert comes back now. Had 56. Doug Smith, watch him out front here, been able to get a block. Ellert might have been able to go to the outside and take it in for the touchdown. Still a good game, though, Jim.
Oh, it certainly is. And, you know, we got an indication then, the gain of 16 yards. We got an indication from the players yesterday that they were going to open it up a little bit more, pass more, a little more razzle-dazzle. And that's what they're trying now. 9:43 in the first half. The toss back to Dickerson. Dickerson to the 5 and scores.
That, my friend, is not razzle-dazzle. That's just power football. That is the identity of the Los Angeles Rams. Big offensive line, terrific blocking up front. Give it to the most talented running back ever to play the game. And take a look at it. He just dances through for the touchdown.
From 6 yards out.
Great block by number 72, Kent Hill, on the pull. See him inside. Is that his favorite play, that 47 gap that you were telling me about?
That wasn't it. 47 gap goes to the right. That time it was to the left. But when you see 47 gap, you see two guard and tackle pull and a tight end lock down.
Certainly worked the way 47 gap usually works.
That's right. For 6 points. Extra point conversion is good. So the Rams come back. Run by Dickerson. They have a lead, 14-7. So after the interception by Nolan Cromwell, the Rams take 5 plays to go 34 yards. They use 3 minutes and 58 seconds on the clock. Eric Dickerson going in from 6 yards out, and they have the lead at 14-7. Here's Mike Lansford. Leon Bright and Phil Freeman back to receive for the Buccaneers. Not a very good kick by Lansford. And the ball goes out of bounds, just barely out of bounds, as Phil Freeman comes over to look at it. The Rams will be penalized 5 yards and have to kick it over again. The flag on the play. You see Ben Dreif there talking it over with his other officials. The ball did go
kick out of bounds. That's a 5-yard penalty. 98 personal foul. That's 15. 20 yards on the kickoff.
Whoa, they add him up, and it comes out to 20 against the Rams. Now, who was that? Sean Miller?
Sean Miller, yes.
Nose tackle, yeah. You know, once again, you look at the Rams, and it is defense setting up the offense. Nolan Cromwell comes up with an interception. Dieter Brock and company take it in. Dickerson, with his liquid magic, takes it in for the touchdown, and they go ahead 14-7.
You know, it's warm temperature-wise, but also, you know, it's starting to flare down. Temperature's starting to flare, tempers rather, just a little bit down there between the players.
Well, there's frustration on the side of one. That's the source of the penalty right there. It's frustration on the Bucs part. They're 0-5. They played Chicago well twice. Of course, the Rams are 5-0. They slipped by last week against Minnesota, so the Bucs are a little bit frustrated the way things have been going for them this year.
Instead of 9 plays, the Rams take only 5 plays to go 34 yards and scoring on Dickerson's 6-yard run. But, you know, it's interesting when you talk to the Buccaneers and they say, we are not going to be intimidated by anyone. And I think that's a tribute to Lehman Bennett, the head coach, because things are going so bad for them in the record books that they still feel like they can come out and be competitive.
Well, they have been competitive. They were competitive against Detroit 2 weeks ago. They had a touchdown taken away from them. Certainly last week they were leading the Bears at the half, so they are competitive against good teams. This afternoon they're competitive here against the Rams.
Now, coming up next, right here on CBS, it'll be the Chicago Bears against the San Francisco 49ers. That'll be a good one. Another pretty good game, Atlanta and Seattle.
And, you know, the Ram fans are not going to like what I'm about to say, folks, but Chicago and San Francisco are the 2 best games in the NFL. Fantastic offenses, good defenses. But
you folks out in Los Angeles will not see that game because the Raiders are in town taking on the New Orleans Saints. Here's the kick again. Here's Phil Freeman again. Freeman giving the Buccaneers good field position as he gets into Ram territory. Tackled at the 44-yard line. That's what Tampa will take over 1st and 10. Tackle there made by Mark Giroux.
Not only Phil Freeman, but also the penalties. I mean, a short kick, he makes a good run right there, sets up his blocking so well, and then breaks it up the middle for good yards across midfield.
33-yard return then by Freeman.
How would you like to be a return man? Boy, you better have the soul of a daredevil and the guts of a gorilla. Look at that. Take those kinds of hits on the kickoff.
That's right. Here's where DeBerg says that he wants to really put the ball up. But instead, it's a draw play to Wilder. To the outside. First contact made by Gary Green, and then Jim Collins comes over and makes the tackle. Here is Denver leading Indianapolis 6-0 in the second quarter. Washington coming back leading Detroit now in the second period. Philadelphia over St. Louis 6-0 in the second. Dallas over Pittsburgh 7-3. And here it's 14-7. Los Angeles over Tampa Bay. 2nd and 5. Ball at the 39-yard line of the Rams. Steve DeBerg at quarterback with James Wilder in the backfield. Play action pass. It freezes the linebackers. DeBerg. Almost a good reception in by Gerald Carter, but good defensive play then by Gary Green.
Not just good defensive play, outstanding all-pro play by Gary Green. I mean, here's Kevin House. Imagine yourself as a defensive back. You have a guy that can run the 100 way under 10 seconds. He's breezing down on you. What do? You settle, you react, you knock the ball away with your hand.
You hear the cheer in the background. The Rams are being penalized for a personal foul.
Certainly not a penalty on Gary Green after a sparkling play.
But once again, the Ram defense, who has come up with so many big plays,
I think that's what it was.
because of a foul, gives the Buccaneers a first down at the Ram 24-yard line. Penalty then against number 58, Mel Owens. Hand off to Wilder, trying to get to the outside. Gets away from Wilshire, but bumped out of bounds there by Leroy Irvin. You know, you talk to John Robinson, when he talks about the defense, he talks about Green and Leroy Irvin, so, giving them so many pluses in the column, because he says they are the strength of that defense. And there's Leroy Irvin, who is one of the more dangerous punt returners in the league. But with Green and Irvin, you have two of the finer cover men in all of pro football.
And I thought it was funny what Gary Green was telling me about Leroy Irvin. Gary Green is so loose and easygoing. He said, Leroy was a little bit tight. He used to do a lot of man-to-man press coverage, but I've gotten to him a little bit and taught him how to read and be more relaxed out there.
Green has relaxed a lot of people on the Rams squad, not just on defense. Here's DeBerg. Tosses out, in and out of the hands of Wilder. And James could have picked up a lot of yardage then had he been able to hang on to the ball.
And Carl Eckern was right there on Wilder, and that's the idea. Don't play so much zone that you can't have a linebacker on Wilder. As here, the ball is well thrown, but you see number 55 coming in. Carl Eckern was there covering a man-to-man to make the tackle should Wilder catch the ball.
And, of course, the Buccaneers tell us that working on Eckern and Jim Collins, they feel that if there is a weakness in that Ram defense, it's their two inside linebackers, and that's why they want to get it to Wilder and their tight ends. Cincinnati, John, over your Giants by 3 touchdowns now. 3rd and 7, all at the 21. And off to Wilder. Wilder to the 16-yard line. Nolan Cromwell and Johnny Johnson in on the tackle for the Rams.
Nolan Cromwell and Johnny Johnson, you mentioned it. One of the reasons the Rams are a much better defense this year is that they have both their safeties healthy. Certainly the return of Johnny Johnson and Cromwell going back to strong safety, Johnson to free safety, has solidified that secondary.
It certainly has. It has made them one of the best in the league. But now, Donald Igwebuike, in case you want to know, he's from Nigeria. Igwebuike means you can't predict tomorrow. Igwebuike has been a very good field goal kicker for the Buccaneers.
Can you predict right now?
Ball is at the 34-yard attempt.
Yes, you can.
You can predict it's good after it's over. Yeah. With the field goal, the Rams have a 4-point lead, 14-10. The Buccaneers take 5 plays to go 28 yards. They use 1 minute and 54 seconds on the clock, capped off by Donald Igwebuike's 34-yard field goal, 14-10 Los Angeles. And now the thermometer, John, is in the shade, and it's cooled down just a little bit.
Cooled down to around 94 degrees. It was up over 100.
But still plenty good hot action on the field. Buckeye's kick goes into the end zone. Charlie White downs it there. The Rams will take over 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Now, coming up at halftime, Brent Musburger with all the scores and highlights, and a special feature, John, Finesse and Force. Mike Ditka along with Bill Walsh as they get ready for their big confrontation this afternoon. And also, good quarterback's going to be in the studio.
Hey, speaking of John Brody, boy, so many good years, a decade and a half with the 49ers. Boy, if he doesn't remember the combination of Brody to Gene Washington, one of the best in the late 60s and early 70s.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Oh, I'll be interested to see what he has to say about that game, San Francisco Bears at halftime.
You see that game right here, except in Los Angeles. Brock back to pass on 1st down. Complete to Bobby Duckworth. Duckworth thrown out of bounds at the 26-yard line by John Holt. So a little bit of a variation here now, John, as the Rams come out and throw on 1st down, which is what Brock told us he wanted to do.
You know, I asked Brock yesterday, you were there, I said, what's been the most difficult thing about the transition here to the NFL? And he says, you know, my style of play up in Canada was one to open it up, to throw the ball downfield. Here, I've had to adjust, and that's caused some frustration.
It certainly has, but it's good to have that kind of frustration at 5-0.
Exactly.
Pick up of 6, 2nd and 4. The draw play to Dickerson. And he loses the ball. And it looks like the Buccaneers get it back.
Oh,
Chris Lindstrom recovers Eric Dickerson's fumble.
And that looked like a question of Dickerson moving 5 different ways at one time, as he's only able to do. Take a look at it right here. He gets a good hole up the middle on the draw. And here, see him breaking away. He tries to, you know, the ball just jumps out of his left arm as he was trying to make a big cut to the inside, and the Bucs come up with a big turnover. What field position? Take a look at it again. Good lead block right there. See Lynn Kane knocks the linebacker Brantley out of the way, and then Dick said, hey, where's the ball? I left something behind.
But what he lost, Chris Lindstrom found.
Exactly.
And the Buccaneers have it 1st and 10 at the Ram 29-yard line. 3 wide receivers in now for Tampa Bay. Play action pass. The pass is thrown and incomplete, intended for Jimmy Giles, but there is a flag on the play, and it looks like it'll be against the Rams' Mel Owens, who really put the wood to Steve DeBerg. And that's 3 penalties in the first half against Mel Owens.
Personal foul.
Number 58, repping the quarterback. 15 and a 1st down.
Well, you heard it.
We saw Ben Drive yesterday, and we talked about that game they refereed last week in which there were 29 penalties, 19 against Cincinnati, and 1 was roughing the quarterback on Gastineau, and he said, you know what? I got to keep those guys off the quarterback, and if they make an attempt not to hit the quarterback when they do come on the rush after the ball is thrown, I won't call it, but if they keep going, well, then I will. And you look at the penalty situation, lopsided. Rams 6 for 55 yards already.
And Mel Owens has 3 of the 6.
And that's from a team who had the lowest penalties in the NFL coming into today's game.
John Robinson said that yesterday. He said, maybe I shouldn't have said it. Well, let's heard him today. Here's a draw play to Wilder. Wilder tackled in the backfield there by Mike Wilcher.
You know, all year long, do you remember against Detroit a couple of weeks back, they drove the ball down and they had to settle for a field goal, Tampa Bay, and that's what DeBerg said. You know, we get good drives, we get good position, but somehow we have trouble getting the ball in for a touchdown.
And I think their offensive coordinator put it very, very well yesterday when he says, we don't play to win, we play to keep from losing. So you don't have that all-out attitude out there, subconsciously.
You can't win with that kind of an offensive mindset. It's too negative.
DeBerg back to pass. Throws towards the end zone. Kevin House, touchdown. So the man who told us we will have a good game is having a good game.
But look at the coverage by Gary Green. You can't play it much better. The ball is just well thrown. And look at that with his right hand. Green almost knocks it away. But what House did, Jim, you saw it there like a basketball player going up for a rebound. He shielded the defensive back and caught the ball into his body for the touchdown.
Perfect passing will defeat perfect defense every time. And Buckeye's extra point conversion is good. So we have a tie score. Rather, the Buccaneers lead 17-14. 17-14 Tampa over the Rams. Here's a great example, John, of perfect passing, defeating perfect defense.
Exactly. The rush does not get there, and DeBerg has just the time he needs. It's a quick slant, and if you're going to throw the quick slant, you load that gun up, and you drill it in there much the way DeBerg did right there. Go ahead, House. A little, oh, what kind of a spike is that? Here comes the big one. Oh, yes! How are you? Take a look at it again. He just has enough time. You don't need much, a three-step drop, and he drills it on the line, and then House does the rest to make a good play. Green, outstanding coverage. And you said it, a good pass will defeat good defense.
Well, they only take 2 plays, go 29 yards, 47 seconds on the clock. DeBerg to Kevin House. Now the Buccaneers lead by 3, 17-14 over the Rams.
Look at that. You make a mistake, and what happens? Another team capitalize on it.
These games have always been close, and here's another example. Igwebuike into kickoff now for the Buccaneers. Low line drive kick. Charlie White returning for the Rams. White to the 33-yard line. He's tackled there by Larry Kubin. We've got a good one here, but we also have a couple of good games coming up after this one. The Chicago Bears and San Francisco 49ers rematch of last year's NFC Championship game, or the Atlanta Falcons and Seattle.
How are you? How would you like to see Jim McMahon, the #1 passer in the NFL, versus the #3 passer in the game, Joe Montana? Well, folks, if you want to see it, just hang around here on CBS. Except
for you fans in Los Angeles, because the Raiders are taking on the New Orleans Saints in the Coliseum on the West Coast. Lynn Kane in the backfield now with Dickerson. The toss back to Dickerson. Dickerson gets short before he gets to the 34-yard line. Irvin Randall making the tackle for Tampa.
And you know, you talk about Eric Dickerson, and we had a chance to sit in our room yesterday. Dick was just sitting back with that big smile, that toothy grin, relaxed, and we said, hey, Dick, you know, how's your health? Are you feeling good? And remember what he said, you know, my hand is okay, but I'm not so sure about my hamstring.
He says he hates to predict that because the hamstring muscle, especially with an explosive back like Dickerson, can really bother you at any time, even though here in the hot weather, he feels that it will help him. Dickerson has 47 yards rushing on 11 carries and 1 touchdown. Here's Dieter Brock back to pass. Has plenty of time. Throws across the middle. Oh, does he really take a hit? That's Henry Ellard, who was really belted then by Jeff Davis.
Remember when I said to Brock yesterday, you know, part of the criticism that I saw in films watching you was that you couldn't find the second and third receiver. I said, do you think that's fair? And Brock said, heck no, I don't think it's fair. Take a look at it. He looks for 1, he looks for 2, finds Ellard over the middle as his third receiver with some good blocking up front, Jim.
Here by Irv Pankey. Played good for 16 yards. Pankey doing a great job on Chris Washington, as Pankey is really playing out of position. He's a tackle playing a guard spot today. 1st and 10. The toss back to Dickerson. Oh, the Buccaneers are playing some rough defense. They are really swarming to the ball. David Greenwood and Jeff Davis in again on the tackle.
You mentioned Pankey doing such a good job out here today. He's playing because Bill Bain, the big man from USC, 11 years in the league, is not playing this afternoon. There he is. Look at him.
And you talk about someone that's really injured. Baines, pains, he has them all right there.
Ankles, knees, cartilage tears in his ribs. And remember what you said to Bain? He said, you know, part of the problem is just 11 years of carrying 300 pounds around.
And on a day where the temperatures are right around the century mark. Barry Redden now for Dickerson. Brock the pass. Throws. Complete to Duckworth. Duckworth running an excellent pattern, then really driving the linebacker Scott Brantley off and then coming back making the reception, which is really enough yardage for the first down.
And this is also the advantage of having a bazooka for an arm. The thing that separates quarterbacks in the NFL are the guys that can throw the deep out. Dieter Brock can throw it. Look at the velocity on this ball and the perfect placement as Duckworth comes back to make the reception.
Duckworth with 1 touchdown reception this afternoon, 3 passes for 38 yards. And coming from San Diego, where they are very pass-oriented with Dan Fouts, he's really able to contribute here. Brock to the far sidelines, complete to Henry Ellard. Ellard bumped out of bounds at the 30-yard line by Jeremiah Castile and David Greenwood.
I thought it was interesting when we talked to Ellard yesterday, and he said, what's your favorite pattern? And I said the same thing to Dieter Brock. And the Rams have a pattern they run about 3 or 4 times each game. and it's called the getaway pattern, get loose. And they run it to Henry Ellard because he has those individual abilities. He can catch the ball short, intermediate, or long, and I think he's Dieter Brock's favorite wide receiver. He is Dieter Brock's favorite.
Yes, he is. He likes the speed that he has, being able to get downfield and get away in a hurry. 2nd and 4, ball at the 29. Brock back to pass again to the far sideline. Again to Henry Ellard, and it is complete. David Greenwood defending for Tampa. So Ellard is really having a field day because I think David Greenwood is really afraid of all that speed, and he's giving him the underneath stuff.
Not only that, take a look at Jeremiah Castile. He's out of your picture, the defensive back. That allows Ellard to get on the outside. But if number 30, Greenwood, had read the quarterback, he would have reacted sooner to that zone. He did not. Ellard makes another catch. That's like picking an apple off a tree.
Certainly is. Ellard told us yesterday, he said, we're gonna throw the ball a lot more. We're gonna open it up this week.
Well, they have to. They're losing. 17-14.
Lynn Kane in the backfield now with Dickerson. Hand off to Eric. Gets away from one tackler. Gets inside the 15, inside the 10. Scott Brantley, Ivory Sully, the former Ram, in on the tackle for Tampa.
Very few backs in the NFL have that combination of speed and power. This, my friends, exhibits that combination. Watch him ward off tackles. 1. Let me get rid of this guy here. 2. Ivory, watch yourself. I'm going to lay it on you, 2. 3. Leaves. Look at the Bucs strewn all over the field, their yellow uniforms with Dick.
And you see now John Robinson calling for a timeout as Dickerson has 60 yards rushing on 13 carries.
Timeout.
It's really amazing. Ivory Sully goes up to him and sticks him right in the chest, and it's as if Dickerson says, oh, excuse me, I have to go someplace else now.
Oh, the Dick is back. Not quite in the groove that he was last year when he set the record 2,105 yards. I thought it was interesting that he bought all of his offensive linemen, folks. You might know this. They all have those gold rings on their fingers with 2105 on. The year before, what did he buy them? Rolex watches?
He bought him a Rolex watch, but then he says, I may have to buy something for the defense this year because they're doing so well for us. But those are the kinds of things that he wants to show his appreciation for. And really what it does, I think it brings everyone a little bit closer together. And believe me, when he came back in after being out all of training camp, they were so happy to see him back. But he knows, as he told us yesterday, you know, it takes our offense about 5 or 6 weeks in order to get back into the groove. He said, since I've been here, speaking of Dickerson, he says, we really aren't fast starters. So he said, we'll probably get going about week 5, 6, or 7. And this is week 6.
But Dickerson, a man of raw talent, but also intelligence. I mean, those are the guys that make it happen for him, his offensive line. So what does he do? When you see him around the hotel, he's hanging around with David Hill. He's hanging around with the other offensive linemen because he knows without them, there is nothing.
And buying them dinner.
Ah, yes. He can afford to.
Oh, yes. Peter Brock now, 9 of 11, 112 yards, 1 touchdown pass. That's about a tough word. 2nd and 1, ball at the 10. Here's Eric again. Inside the 10. Gets down to the 8-yard line. Irvin Randall and David Greenwood in on the tackle. The clock running down. Less than 3.5 minutes to go in the first half.
You know, the criticism that's been leveled at the offense of the Rams, I mentioned that to John Robinson. I said, you know, a one-dimensional offense will never win a Super Bowl, as evidenced last year when Miami's offense without a running game was exposed. He said, you know what, that may be true, but before you can do anything, you better have an identity. We have one. We are a power running team.
And he's more concerned about the power than the finesse. 3 minutes to go in the first half. It's Tony Hunter in motion. Toss back to Dickerson again. Dickerson knocked short of the 6-yard line. Tackle made there by David Logan. And it looks like there's a fumble again. The Buccaneers are indicating that Dickerson did fumble. John Cannon comes up with the ball, along with Ivory Sully.
Remember, Jim, Dickerson just fumbled earlier. He did it again.
And they give it to the Buccaneers.
Oh, my. Remember the last fumble? He was just, you know, shuffled it in his arms, dropped it. The Buccaneers capitalized on a touchdown to take the lead. Here, Dick again. See him carrying the ball in his hand. Remember, he has a sore hand. He's carrying it way on the outside. There's a lot of penetration by the Bucs. There, he's losing the ball as he's going down. It's loose under the pile. And somebody, Jim, I don't know who came up with it.
David Logan, number 76, stripped the ball away from Eric Dickerson, and John Cannon came up with the fumble recovery.
What a break. Look at this. Whew. Yes, Logan with the hit. Turnovers. 3 for the Rams today. Tampa Bay just 1.
So David Logan, the All-Pro, comes through again. 17-14, Bucs over the Rams.
Jim, I was just going to say, that's from a team who has played very well and has only given the ball away 11 times in 5 games before this afternoon.
The Buccaneers have it 1st and 10, ball at their own 6-yard line. Look at this, DeBerg back to pass on 1st down, throws.
Surprised.
Intended for Jimmy Giles. Jim Collins defending for the Rams. That is a surprise. Well, he threw from the end zone in the first period.
I'm as surprised as you are, Jim.
Looking at some other scores this afternoon, it is Denver over Indianapolis 6-3. Buffalo leading New England by a field goal in the second period. Also in the first half, Minnesota and Green Bay tied. Houston over Cleveland 6-0 in the second quarter. Philadelphia leading St. Louis 13-0 in the first half. The Giants have got on the board, John.
Well, thanks a lot. I mean, just from New York, you're giving me such a hard time here, Jim. I mean, do I say anything about the West Coast? Do I?
Yes, but we won't talk about it now, though. But we will talk about James Wilder. What an excellent job he's doing of running. Gets up to the 9-yard line. Doug Reed and Carl Eckern. Wilder's really having to work for his yards.
And last week he had to work also against the good defensive teams. When they know there's one player to stop, you can do it. You look at his stats, only 28 yards. Last week, only 29 yards, and that is his lowest total in 25 games. What, since he became the tailback under John McKay's system?
There's a timeout on the field. I believe the Rams call for a timeout. 2:17 left to go in the first half. Now coming up at halftime, Brent Musburger with all the scores and highlights. And then a very special feature, Finesse and Force. Bill Walsh and Mike Ditka, the head coaches of the Chicago Bears and the San Francisco 49ers, talking about how they're getting ready for the upcoming game today.
The cerebral genius, right, versus the power, the man, the Mike Ditka, the tough guy from Chicago. You know, John Brody's going to be in the studio also. So many years, so good for the San Francisco 49ers.
The 49ers and the Bears, a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game, coming up after our ball game, except for the fans in Los Angeles, because the Los Angeles Raiders are taking on the New Orleans Saints.
You think that Mike Ditka's been hanging around Bill Walsh a little bit? I mean, he's borrowed a page from his book. Remember a couple of weeks ago, Walter Payton around the right side, throws back to McMahon in the end zone and makes a great catch for a touchdown.
But of course, you know, now remember that he was also an assistant coach under Tom Landry at Dallas with Mike Ditka, so he probably picked up a few things there.
How do you know all these things?
I try to watch TV and listen to you and stuff like that.
A student of the game, Jim Hill.
17-14, Tampa Bay leading the Rams. The Buccaneers 0-5. 3rd and 6. Ball at the 10-yard line of the Buccaneers. Draw play. Oh, and Wilder's hit right at the line of scrimmage. And that's one of the reasons why the Buccaneers are having a lot of trouble. You know, they are going against one of the better defenses in the league. And
the 2-minute warning is coming up, Jim. That's an automatic timeout and a break for the Rams. They can incorporate that into their game plan.
We'll be right back. You know, you just saw David Hill walk off. I guarantee he was telling Dieter Brock, if you throw it to me, I can get into the end zone. Now the Buccaneers are back to punt. Frank Garcia. Ben Dreif now gets everyone all set. Henry Ellard back to receive for the Rams. Good high punt by Garcia, driving Ellard back to the 35-yard line. Ellard still on his feet. Slips, gets back up. Finally knocked down by Paul Dombrowski. And the Rams will take over 1st and 10 inside Tampa Bay territory. A 55-yard punt, 55 yards on the punt, and a 16-yard return, John.
Ellard, I mean, if you're going to be a return man, that quickness is what it's all about. You see him right there. He breaks underneath number 44, Sully, and then gets to the outside, but good leverage, contained, allows the pursuit to get to him. But still, good field position on their side of the 50-yard line for the Rams.
And I know you're really interested in seeing how Dieter Brock handles himself in the 2-minute warning. Barry Redden in the backfield now for the Rams. Brock goes back to pass. Flag is down. Throws. Complete to Redden. Redden tackled by Chris Washington, but there is a flag on the play. That's usually what it is when the referee throws a penalty on a passing play, holding against the Rams.
And remember, this is a patched-up offensive line for the Rams, with Dennis Harrah out, and Pankey playing the left tackle for Bill Bain. And Tony Slater.
Illegal use of a hand, number 78. 10 yards.
That was Jackie Slater, Jim, and Tony Slayton, of course, playing the right guard in there, so they are patched up a little bit. Jackie Slater's a guy I wouldn't expect to hold. See him top of the screen right there. Ooh, see him right up under the chin. Looked like a pretty good block to me with his hands, unless he grabbed onto the jersey.
The Rams have been penalized 7 times for 64 yards. First and 20 at the Ram 41. You have those penalties and that many turnovers. You really can't expect to win a lot of ball games that way. Brock looking. The screen to Barry Redden. Redden struck down at the 30-yard line. David Greenwood. So we're seeing where the Buccaneer defense is really starting to get into it again.
This is a good call in this situation. Barry Redden, a guy with the ability to break some tackles and to make a big play. Brock, a little bit hesitant to put it upfield, but take a look at it right here. It's good defensive play as Brock is getting ready to run. See that good play, good pursuit. Back to action.
1 minute and 8 seconds left to go in the first half. Brock throws. Complete to Mike Young. And the young rookie from UCLA gets to the 42-yard line. Chris Washington making the tackle for Tampa.
Now remember, the Rams have 1 timeout left. They want to use it judiciously.
They have 3 wide receivers in now. 45 seconds left to go in the first half. Brock to the far sideline. Henry Eller just stopped short, didn't even try for it as the ball goes out of bounds.
Obvious, Jimmy just threw that ball away so he could get a timeout without using his last official timeout. He wants to go over and talk and to get things together. He doesn't want that rushed up. But to me, you know this thing that separates quarterbacks, as you look at John Robinson, is the guy in a 2-minute drill who can do it. Tommy Kramer, 2-minute Tommy. Roger Staubach in the past, the guys who can take their team in hand on the strength of their personalities and move them down the field and score. Of course, Brock is new, and I don't know if he has that kind of control of the Ram offense at this point. He doesn't.
He can't because he's only been with them, for less than half a year. And they trail right now 17-14. 3 wide receivers for Los Angeles.
4th down.
They're going for it. And the Buccaneer fans giving their defense a standing ovation as referee Ben Wright indicates that Dieter Brock was thrown for his 4th sack of the afternoon by John Cannon, number 78.
And this is an excited Buck defense. And remember, it's 4th down, so here they miss an opportunity for a field goal and for a score before the half. Just good pressure. Take a look at Cannon. Fighting off the blocker, finally gets Brock in the grasp and control.
Now the Buccaneers call a timeout with 36 seconds left to go. It's really amazing. You must give a great deal of credit to the Buccaneers secondary then, because they were covering those wide receivers all over the field because Brock had a lot of time back there.
Now, they had 3 timeouts left, so they used their first one. This kind of aggressive offense is really the posture that Lehman Bennett and Steve DeBerg, and you see Young along the sidelines there, also have to have. They have to be aggressive and try to get a score because remember, you're 0-5, your confidence level is shaky against a 5-0 team who is growing in stature. So if you can get another touchdown and go up by 10 going into the locker room, boy, you'll have a good feeling.
And Jimmy Ray, the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, was with the Rams, as we mentioned, last year. And he knows the Ram defensive personnel pretty well. So we know that he knows the weaknesses and the strengths of that defense.
And, Jim, need I remind you that the problems for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have come in the second half. They've been ahead of the Bears twice at halftime and lost those games. They were ahead of Detroit. They played a good game in the first half. So they have problems. And this man, I mean, he has a lot to lose. Can you imagine losing to an 0-5 team when you're undefeated?
And they're looking for a victory and hoping that the Bears can beat the 49ers so they can have a 3-game lead in the NFC's Western Division.
What a bulge that would be this early.
But right now, his main concern is the Buccaneers on offense. 35 seconds left to go in the first half. The Rams trail by 3, 17-14. And DeBerg, who's good at picking apart defenses, goes back. Complete to Gerald Carter. Carter tackled by Eric Harris and Vince Newsom.
Use your timeout. There's nothing to save them for.
Looks like there's an injured Ram player, Gary Jeter. As the Buccaneers call for a timeout. Each team now has 1 timeout left. And when you look at Steve DeBerg and you think about him, he is really one of the best quarterbacks at picking apart a defense from an intermediate standpoint. And we got the indication yesterday from John Robinson that the weakness of the Ram defense is defending against that medium-range pass.
He mentioned it, and I quote, as Jeter leaves the field, and I quote John Robinson, "We've had our problems against a hot quarterback throwing intermediate passes against us, and that's what DeBerg could turn out to be here this afternoon." And remember, the kicker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has incredible range, and I won't say his name because you're the only guy in America who can pronounce his name.
Donald Amiche Igwebuike.
How long have you been practicing that?
About a month now. About a month now. Remember? And he came and took the job of Obed Oriri, who was the the field goal kicker here for the Buccaneers. They're both from Nigeria. And when we talked to
both from Clemson.
Yes. Yep. When we talked to Igwebuike, he said, "How do you feel about beating out a good friend?" He says, "I got to look out for myself."
He's had a 51-yard field goal this year against New Orleans, a team record.
2nd and 2, ball at the 43-yard line. Flags go down. This will be against the Rams, and DeBerg has a free shot, and he's going for it. Intercepted by Cromwell, his 2nd interception of the afternoon. He laterals back to Leroy Irvin, but remember, there's a flag on the play, and this will all go for naught. There's several more flags on the play. So Ben Dreith is really going to have his job cut out for him now. Remember, the original flag, the first flag, was thrown at the line of scrimmage where it appeared that the Rams were offside.
It looked like Greg Meisner was a little hot to get in on DeBerg on the rush. And DeBerg, as you noticed, Jim, took an awful long time in his cadence trying to draw the Rams off sides.
Using his experience, knowing that the Rams are really going to try and put the heat on. Here's the call.
Offside defense. Then he had a penalty on a return, illegal use of hands. They'll take the offside, and it'll be 5-yard penalty and a first down.
You can't explain it any better than that.
You can. Watch the left side of your screen. See, jump right there. Okay, right there. That's the penalty.
John, the Rams have been penalized 69 yards. They've lost 3 fumbles. They've had 4 quarterback sacks for minus 29 yards. And they're lucky, really, to be down only by 3.
The mark of a good team, to hang in there, and give yourself a chance to come back. The Rams have done that this year.
Time and time again. They have a perfect record of 5-0. 9 seconds left in the first half. DeBerg. Complete to Wilder out of the backfield. Mike Wilcher defending for the Rams. 4 seconds left in the first half, and I think we're going to get to see Mr. Igwebuike come in and attempt a very long field goal here.
But you see what DeBerg did for him right there? He got himself 6, 7, 8 more yards, and that makes a difference. Every yard makes a difference, though this man has a really strong leg.
The ball will be spotted by Alan Risher at the 39-yard line. This will be a 49-yard field goal attempt with 4 seconds left. Yes, sir. Donald Igwebuike kicks a 49-yard field goal to end the first half. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lead the Los Angeles Rams 20-14.
Look at this. You think he isn't happy? But that was a chip shot for Donald. He's tried 2 from 62 yards. That one was perfect.
Stay tuned. The NFL Today, Brent Musburger, all the scores and highlights in just a couple of moments.